Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. In this video, we will be taking a look at the new game, Prime Minister, from GMT Games, designed by Paul Hellyer. This game, as I mentioned, is a fairly new release. I just received it myself earlier this week, and we're going to take a first look at the game. I'm going to do a playthrough of it down the road. It can be played by 1 through 4 players, I believe. We'll find that out here in a second when I flip it over. So yeah, let's just do that right now. I already tore the shrink off, so we can, yes, 1 to 4 players, playtime of 1 to 4 hours. The solo bot is actually called, I think, the Clockwork bot, which is a very kind of steampunk, Victorian era kind of thing to call it, which I think is pretty cool. Not that that has any effect on the game at all. It does say 1 Clockwork player aid, 1 Clockwork player mat. That's kind of cool. Just, you know, to me, complexity is only a 3, and the solitaire suitability is a 9. So in this game, you're basically playing, as you might guess, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the era of Queen Victoria. And it comes with basically some historical prime ministers that you can play as from the Conservative and Liberal parties. It says here in Prime Minister, 1 to 4 players vie for political power and prestige by campaigning for public support, selecting and debating bills, pursuing official appointments, recruiting influential Victorians as supporters, garnering favor with the Queen, and when the time is right, challenging other players for their leadership roles. Gameplay is partly cooperating with shifting alliances, but only one player can win by holding the Prime Minister's seat at the game's end. So you can be a backbencher, you can be Prime Minister, you can be the opposition leader if you're the party that's not in power, or a backbencher for the party that's not in power as well. That's where the 4 players come in. If you play it solitaire, you get Clockwork opponents. Like here's an image of the Clockwork Disraeli. So let's actually open up the box and take a look at what's inside. All right, so we have our multiplayer rulebook. And the graphics on here are pretty cool. I like the way this looks with the kind of old-time ledger look on there. So this is the multiplayer rulebook. It does run, it looks like it runs basically 22 pages for the rules and then an additional 46 pages with the various scenarios, victory point, pooling, examples of play. So you've got like a 30-page example of play in here. So that's pretty nice. I kind of went through the rules a little bit, but they're very straightforward. It does say the complexity is a 3. I think that's probably fair. I have not played it, of course. This is actually the first time I've opened the box. I did pull the shrink off, as I mentioned, but I have not actually looked inside here until now. I like to be surprised when I do these, but I also like to do a little bit of research before I start talking about the game, so I'm not completely clueless. So here we have our mats. You can see the party leader mats. This uses cubes, so it has kind of that almost coin game kind of feel with the components in a way. You have various tracks for the different sectors of the electorate. So this is a political game. It's not a war game. I like political games. I like strategy games in addition to con sims. So just kind of flipping through here. There are cards. You do see you have supporters. So they'll have cards. You have packs. There are bills to pass and so on and so forth. There are elections. And here you see bills, and they are, I think there's like 3 types of bills. Liberal bills, conservative bills, and then those that would be like kind of cross-party cooperative bills that everybody kind of supports. And playing them can help or hurt you with various segments of the electorate. So it's very much a balancing act. I believe there are actions you can take. So, yeah, it's an interesting game. So here we have scenarios. And you can see you're going to start with the various sectors. Those are the parts of the electorate. You've got conservative sector, gentry, workers, the farmers, liberals, middle class, Scotland, etc. There are a whole bunch of them, and we'll see that once we look at the boards and stuff. Home rule for Ireland, Queen's Favor, repealing the Corn Laws, the Second Reform Act, Fractured Parliament, the Liberal Unionist. What else we got in here? Guide to Victory Point Pooling, because when you play with 4 players, you'll have 2 liberals and 2 conservatives, so some of the victory points will probably, would assume, be pooled. Here's our example of play with the setup, and this is, as you can see, pretty significant and all-encompassing, very thorough with a lot going on here, and it really goes for a while. 10 rounds, 11 rounds, 12 rounds. Yeah, that's quite a long list. And then you have some optional rules. And like a FAQ almost. Well, no, I guess that's just the Prime Minister's question time is an optional rule, so I misread that. Sorry. And an index on the back, always welcome. Then, of course, you have a clockwork rulebook, which is also somewhat hefty. This one runs 56 pages. It also has a 20-plus page example of play. So a lot of this will be fairly simple, similar, I should say, to the other rulebook, except it's obviously for solitaire play. And it talks about the clockwork opponents. So, you know, this is probably what I'll actually play, because I generally play a lot of my stuff solitaire, especially, and I think there's 2 parts. Clockwork System 1, Clockwork System 2, so you can kind of take it in pieces. And then at the back here, you do have scenarios, rebuilding the party, climbing the greasy pole, morality play, law and order, the liberal unionist. Then we have our example of play, and I might just play this to show it. It goes on for quite a bit as well. 13 rounds, 14 rounds. 16 rounds. And then you also have your alternate rule. There's only one. There's no Prime Minister question time here, I guess. But you do have the alternate vote tracker. And then, of course, an index. So we have cards here. Player aids. Oh, these are cool. They're kind of separated out. One for each of the 4 players. Okay, and we have our bill sheet. And these numbers here, I believe, refer to the members of Parliament, how many are in there. Here's our Prime Minister card. And I know the orange, Liberals use this side in 3-player games. And we have the opposition leader card, and again, Liberals use this side in 3-player games. The clockwork opposition leader and the clockwork Prime Minister. There are no backbenchers when you play the clockwork. It's basically a 2-player game. So let me kind of rearrange this here if we're going to get the board out. We do have, here are the backbencher cards. Government backbencher and the opposition backbencher each have their own cards, as you can see. And now we have our board. And let's see how big this is. Not too bad. Not too bad. Now you can see most of it here. So I'll kind of push it up. So here we have the score track at the top. Here are our various sectors. So you have Conservatives, Farmers, Gentry, Ireland, Liberals, Middle Class, Scotland, and Workers. Election projections. Down at the bottom, you've got bills, election here. Then government MPs. So this is the breakdown of Parliament, how many are in each kind of camp, I guess. And you have Her Majesty the Queen there. And I think there's a mechanism in this game for sucking up to the Queen, which is probably useful back then. Baggies, as usual. Here are our wooden bits. There aren't as many of these as there would be in a coin game or in, say, one of the levy and campaign games. But there's a decent amount. Look kind of cool. That's nice. Then our cards. So we have Clockwork. So these are Clockwork politicians, apparently. We have Salisbury on one side and Aberdeen on the other. And we have politicians. These are kind of mixed together. I guess I can open one up and take a look here. I don't think I'll open all of them, but here are the politicians. So you've got Disraeli, Aberdeen, Derby, Rosebery, Russell, Salisbury, Peel, Melbourne, Palmerston, and Gladstone. So these two are the two I'm kind of most familiar with. I'm an American. I'm not overly familiar with British history, but enough to be dangerous, I guess. Uncertainty cards. We shuffle before each draw. So these have numbers on them, as you can see. Once we go into playing, we'll talk about what all of the various cards do. Lots and lots of event cards. American sees British ship, arrive wearing the wrong tie. That's funny. Attempt on Her Majesty's life. The Boers win battle in South Africa. Cholera outbreak. Coal mine disaster. A lot of coal mines. Colonial uprising. Crop failures. Derby Day. Famine in Ireland. German army overruns neighbor. That's apropos. Invitation to Balmoral. Jack the Ripper. King of Belgium. Prince of Wales caught in scandal. Naughty boy. Queen's birthday. Rail disaster in Ireland. Rail disaster in Scotland. Rebellion in India. Revolution in France. Bread riots. Royal wedding. Oh, a schism in the church. Stalemate in war against Russia. Your wife is divorcing you. Well, that's disheartening. And then these, I guess, are also event cards. By-elections. There's a bunch of those too. So I'm not gonna. I think these are bills. So you've got conservative bills, as I mentioned, cross-party bills. That's what I was not remembering quite right the name for. And I guess the liberal bills are probably right here. Supporters, and these would be liberal bills. You can tell by the color. So just kind of looking at some of these weights and measures acts, the Arsenic Act, Copyright Burial Dogs Act, an act to provide further protection against stray and dangerous dogs, Merchant Shipping, Thames Purification Act, Cruelty to Animals Licensing, Metropolitan Police Act, an act for the Union of Canada and government thereof, an act to constitute the Commonwealth of Australia. So these are cross-party, things that both parties can get behind. Then we have some conservative guys right here, small holdings, contagious disease, offenses against a persons act, obscene publication, slander of women, piracy, treason, royal titles, prisons, ecclesiastical titles, Irish coercion. It's quite a decent assortment here. We'll take a look here. These are clockwork cards. At least this part of the deck is. These are other things, apparently. There's a lot of cards in this game, as you might have guessed. So we have our liberal bills. Insolvent debtors, income tax, railway regulation, Irish land, ballot, penal servitude, slave trade, Married Women's Property Act, Irish Church Act, act authorizing civil courts to grant divorce. Okay, and supporters. So you have supporters, various famous people from the era. John Brown. Oh, look at that. There he is. Charles Darwin. Dickens. Livingstone. Florence Nightingale. Duke of York. Her Majesty's grandson. Prince Albert. Not in a can. Prince of Wales. Princess Helena. Princess of Wales. Mary Shelley. Tennyson. the Duke of Wellington, Duke of Westminster, Oscar Wilde, and Earl Grey. Those are some big names. And we have another deck here, and I guess I'll open up the Clockwork politicians as well. Might as well open it all, right? Right. All right. So, Chief Whip. These are debate cards. To accept this appointment. Okay. I'm not sure what these are, but we'll find out when we play. Father of the House. Okay, here we go. Clockwork events. So here are clockwork events, which have basically kind of an if and then kind of thing on the back here. If PM projected to lose next election, then... So those are the clockwork events. And then you have this one, which is clockwork supporters. Are these all clockwork supporters? Yes. And these, I guess, aren't tied to people so much as they are kind of like just affecting various support levels directly. And finally, we'll take a quick look at these as well. So, Clockwork Aberdeen, as both an opposition leader and the Prime Minister. This will be true for all of them. Derby, Disraeli, Gladstone, Melbourne, Palmerston, Peel, Rosebery, Russell, and Salisbury. So I know from reading some of the rules, they have various abilities, and they'll have some that are stronger and some that are weaker or absent. And so that gives everybody their kind of their own personality, so to speak. So as I mentioned, I am going to do a playthrough of this game, possibly the gameplay example from the book, if not just a regular playthrough, likely using the clockwork system. And that'll happen sometime in the not too distant future. As I said when I did the unboxing / first look of Last 100 Yards Volume 4, I have some stuff in the pipeline. I'm going to slot this in as soon as I can, but I don't know when exactly that will be. So in the meantime, you have this to look at, plus other videos, which I'm sure people will post on this game. Really looking forward to playing this one. I also have Mr. President, which I have not yet done anything with video-wise, and I would like to do something with that as well. This one is much more streamlined, and obviously being historical as opposed to kind of a modern-day thing like Mr. President. This one is going to have lots and lots of historical flavor just from looking at the cards. That is blatantly obvious. So that's going to do it. I do appreciate you guys watching. As always, questions, comments, etc., feel free to post them. I will reply as best I can. If you would consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing to help support my channel, that would be greatly appreciated, as always. But either way, I hope you enjoy the video, have enjoyed some of my other stuff. Perhaps you'll come back and check out things I do in the future. But that is going to do it for now. My name is Joe. This has been the Hexed Encounter channel, and until next time, happy gaming.